For tomorrow's tea party, I'm wanting to make scones, obviously, because you need scones with a tea party, or as the British like to say, scones. So I will be using a tea time recipe. This is the recipe that I actually use all of the time, except for tomorrow's tea party, I'm going to make it a little different. The recipe is actually called cranberry scones, and I will be sharing it with you. I did get permission from a lovely lady named Shelby over at Tea Time Magazine to share these recipes with you. But it calls for cranberries. So I'm going to read the recipe off for you and then tell you what I'm going to be doing instead of the cranberries. So we have 2 cups of all-purpose flour, 1 tablespoon of baking powder, and a 1/4 teaspoon of salt, a 1/4 cup of vegetable oil, and instead of vegetable oil, I use MCT oil, 1 cup of heavy whipping cream, and then it calls for a 1/2 to 3/4 cup of dried cranberries. But because it is fall and I'm using cranberries in the chicken salad, I want to instead use butterscotch chips and pecans. I thought that would be a delicious treat to have instead of the cranberries. The cranberry scones are amazing in and of themselves, but tomorrow I want butterscotch and pecan. So the recipe says preheat oven to 400 degrees, and I have already done that. In a medium bowl, combine flour, salt, and baking powder. And I like to whisk those together just because I like to distribute the salt and the flour and the baking powder all around. Then you add the oil and the heavy whipping cream. We are going to stir this all together just until you get the ingredients a bit wet. Then I like to add the cranberries, and then in this case we're going to be adding the chips. Now I have a 1/2 cup of each. I don't know if I'm going to use a 1/2 cup of each. Probably more like a 1/4 cup, 1/3 of a cup. Oh my gosh, that smells so good. I do love butterscotch. Butterscotch and caramel are amazing fragrances. I was thinking about doing toffee as well, but couldn't find any toffee chips at Winco, so I just decided to go with the butterscotch chips. Now what I'm going to do, just to get it sticking to itself, is use my hand just to get it to stick together. You don't need to knead this. This is not a kneading dough, but you do want it to come together in one cohesive lump, as it were. All right, that looks good. Then, continuing on with the recipe, on a lightly floured surface, roll dough to 1/2 inch thick. So we're going to lightly flour the surface. Okay. And I just start by mashing it down, getting it into a kind of a rectangular shape, because I'm going to use a knife to cut it into triangles. So And I don't have a ruler, so I'm just guessing at 1/2 inch. Okay, so I do like to start with cutting off one edge to make it nice and sharp. Looks like I might be able to cut this into thirds. I'll save that because I'll make some, roll out the dough again, make some more. Okay, so then I move that. And then I just eyeball it. Sometimes I do like to get a cookie cutter and make pretty shapes. Oops, somebody's breathing Rosie's air. Can't have that happen, can we, Rosie? No, we cannot. All right, and I have over here my trusty and very old Pampered Chef pizza stone. Should also mention that this recipe came out of the Tea Time Holiday 2004 magazine. I cannot believe I've had that for this long, and I have literally been using it. Well, 2004, it's 2024. I have literally been using this recipe for 20 years, so it is that amazing. Like I said, you can change out whatever you want to put in it. Instead of cranberries, you can put blueberries or, let's see, what are they? Currants. I'm hoping that these turn out well. If they don't, that's okay, they'll still be yummy. And these don't have to be too pretty because they'll probably just go home to Colton. Not that Colton doesn't need pretty scones, but you know. So we'll just cut these into weird shapes just to get them on this pizza stone. Okay, here we go, and into the oven they are gonna go. Be right back. While the scones are baking, I'm going to go ahead and make the Mock Devonshire cream that will go on the scones tomorrow at the tea. This recipe is also from the Tea Time Holiday 2004 magazine, from Tea Time magazine, and the recipe goes as follows: 6 ounces of cream cheese, room temperature, 3 tablespoons of sugar, and I'm going to be using stevia because Greg and I don't do sugar, and this is a pretty easy substitute. 1/4 teaspoon of salt, and 2 cups of heavy whipping cream. In a large bowl, mix cream cheese, sugar, and salt until well blended. So we're going to do that. Bloop. I'm going to start with a dropper full. Then if I need to add more later, I can add more later. All right, now I'm going to add in the heavy whipping cream. Needs a little bit more sweetener. All right, that is perfectly stiff. I'm going to get a bowl to put it in and store it in the fridge. Okay, I have a container to put it in so I can store it in the fridge. All right, beautiful Mock Devonshire cream to go on the butterscotch and pecan scones for our tea party. Well, the scones have cooled off, and I am now going to put them in another container to put in the fridge until our tea party tomorrow. But I wanted to show you the Tea Time magazine that the past 2 recipes have come in. It is Winter Holiday 2004. I love this magazine. If you are a lover of tea and tea parties and tea time, I would strongly encourage you to get a subscription to Tea Time magazine. chocolate block full of delicious recipes, tabletop inspiration, beautiful tea sets. Just really fun. Mom and I have enjoyed it immensely. Well, looks like since 2004. Okay. Yep, I think these turned out beautifully and they smell so amazing. So I'm just going to put them in here. And I'll wait for them to be eaten tomorrow by my guests.